Welcome. I am Jim O'Neill, and my practice is Journey Mindfulness. And I wanted to discuss a little bit on the topic of courage. Um, it's a it's a video I made a couple months ago that seemed to get a lot of attention, and or more than I'm used to anyway. And it's a big topic in the mPEAK program, which is um, mindful performance enhancement, awareness, and knowledge. And courage is one of those things that you need to be successful in life, just given all the trials and things that we go through. Um, and so it's important to learn about it and see how you can implement it in your life to help make your life better. And so we all have this power to do this. So courage itself is, I would define it as an action uh, taken in spite of fear. So there's no, it's not about not having fear. I think as your skill level goes up with certain things, maybe you lose that fear or it dissipates. So it's not creating a limitation for you. But generally speaking, when you are starting to cultivate courage, um, you are doing things even though they are uncomfortable. Uh, One of the things that we all do is when there are things that we don't like, that we perceive as bad or unpleasant, we tend to fight, flight, or freeze, right? Like you either resist it, you fight it, or you run away, or you just don't deal with it, which can get you into trouble. It's certainly gotten me into trouble, which is why I'm able to talk about this in a certain kind of way. Um, so I came across a quote that I want to get into as we kind of move along here, that I saw from a guy named Patrick Bet David. But the quote that he put out on Twitter says as follows: sometimes God will put a Goliath in your life to bring out the David in you. But if Goliath doesn't appear, go looking for him. I'll read it one more time. Sometimes God will put a Goliath in your life to bring out the David in you. But if your Goliath doesn't appear, go looking for him. Now, I'm sure there's any number of perspectives that you can have about that quote, but it caught my attention and I really like it. And one of the reasons that I like it is, well, A, I've had some Goliaths in my life. And I think anyone that has had them will, you go through certain steps in a process, right? Like, okay, I have fallen down here, or this catastrophe has happened in my life. I have missed the mark. I failed. It could be anything, right? Like life changes, traumas with a big T, traumas with a little t. You get fired, you get divorced, something happens. It could be love related, financially related, all kinds of stuff. Um, when it happens and you are faced with a challenge, it can seem insurmountable. When you have this mountain that you have to climb or this Goliath that you have to face, it is not easy. It forces you to face things. So, in a sense, it acts as a catalyst, right? Like it's placed there for you to grow and to get stronger and perhaps wiser. I think what he's saying, if you don't have it, go looking for it. Maybe you're not challenging yourself enough, or maybe that you've become complacent. And if that is the case, if you're not growing, you're dying, or if you're not getting stronger, you're perhaps getting weaker. If you're One of the things I say that I to my clients is, keep sharpening your sword. So whatever you're faced with, face it well. Don't be afraid of Goliath. Face Goliath. It's part of the Stoic philosophy on living is to see events or obstacles as the path. So whatever the obstacle is in your life at this particular moment, so I'll blend a little bit of stoicism and mindfulness. I have this particular challenge at the moment. In this moment, I have to climb this mountain. Okay, this is going to require focus. It is, if typically when it involves change, there's uncertainty. So I'm going to have to learn to dance with uncertainty. I would say that that requires courage, fear, some amount of doubt. Can I pull this off? Can I make this climb or not? Can I win this fight? And if you decide you're going to, well, oftentimes we change because we don't have a choice, right? Like we have to do it. Then you have to have courage. You have to embody that in your mind, your body, and your soul, which means you have to face your fears. And you can do it. We all can do it. We all have this power within us. But you have to set an intention in your mind that you are going to do this and to be victorious. No one's trying to fail in life. You sharpen your sword by facing these obstacles. And if you don't have any in your life right now, enjoy them. Not saying don't enjoy your life. I want you to enjoy your life. You deserve to enjoy your life. But if you're not faced with things, find ways to challenge yourself to keep it interesting. You cannot be in a state of flow with some amount of risk in life. That is just part of living. Uh, a relative of mine or relatives of mine just went ziplining down a mountain. It looked amazing. There's an element of risk to that. You can't enjoy that without some amount of risk, right? That's part of the adventure of life. So not being afraid to find adventure in your life is what I would say the part about finding Goliath in a way. Even though that's fun, but for some that would be terrifying. Um, so cultivating courage and in mPEAK and any other really mindfulness type mentality is, how do I embody courage? So you have to ask yourself this question. I have this problem. I am not feeling very good about it. Maybe I'm very afraid or anxious about the potential outcome for that. There's a catastrophe looming here. The only way that you can overcome any anxiety is to live in the moment and to live in the breath. So, in this moment, deciding for yourself what it is that you need to do to face your fear, to climb this mountain. So, you have to embody that, and I would list it out. Maybe it's having a difficult conversation with a loved one. It's looking inside your wounds, your pain, negative emotions, to see what it is that you truly do need to change so that you don't feel this way. What can help guide you is your emotions. So your pain is a teacher, it is a guide. Your pain helps you gain the wisdom that you seek. So, what it is that you want to feel? How do you want to feel? If you don't like this pain, then what do you need to do to prevent it from happening again? And only you can do it. No one can solve your problems. So that's very important. You have to accept responsibility for your life, and sometimes it can be very painful. How do you know that? Well, we all go through it, don't we? And the more work that you do on yourself, you discover more and more issues that you have to deal with. We all have a shadow side, for example. It's not pleasant to look into your closet and see your skeletons or to deal with the shadow side of yourself. It's not pleasant. And so most people don't do it. They really don't. Most people do not do it. It's too uncomfortable for them. And so you get stagnant or you are just not really awake in your life. You just kind of go through the motions and you're on autopilot. That's why at the end of life, people are always, or the number one regret is that the people didn't live their lives because they were, worried about other people. They haven't been asking themselves things that they wanted to bring into their life. But if you have the power to create the life that you want to live, and I firmly believe that, then you have to ask yourself this question: how do I want to feel? What do I want to bring into my life? Once you have answered that question and you have identified what the obstacle is, maybe it's confronting something related to money, let's say that, then you have to figure out, okay, these are the steps that I'm going to take. This is going to be unpleasant. Let's just be non-judgmental about it. So another concept in mindfulness, non-judgment. This is going to be unpleasant, but if I get through this, so this is healthy suffering, I'm choosing to do this. If I've identified the root of my suffering, I'm choosing to change it, but I'm going to have to go through an unpleasantness to get through it. If I set that intention, I'm doing it for a reason. I don't want to feel this way, so I want to feel something different. So I'm willing to put in the effort to make that happen. That willingness to do that is as healthy suffering, but it requires courage. So taking action in spite of any type of fear or doubt or negative emotion. You have to cultivate that in your life. You have to give that gift to yourself. Know and believe that you are capable and that you are worthy of solving your challenge. It's going to take courage for you to face your fear, but if you are able to handle that obstacle or face that obstacle, so we're not avoiding anything, right? The courage part, embodying that, is taking the steps that you've identified to take to change the way you feel. Once you start to do them, you're going to feel better. There is light at the end of the tunnel. So you choose with healthy suffering to go through your challenge. You get a different result. A lot of times, people avoid it, they don't deal with it, and so these themes keep cropping up in their life. And so if you're listening to this and you are trying to figure out how to do this, like, okay, where are you not feeling so hot about things in your life? That is your window into, okay, what would make me feel better? What would I even want to feel here? What's the obstacle? Identify the obstacle and then start to list out the steps that you need to take. So how I might have you do this is, okay, how can I embody more courage in my life with this particular topic? Well, I'm going to open the bill that I've been afraid to open, right? Or have this conversation with my friend that insulted me because I value the relationship and I want it to be better. So you have to, that's a courageous step to take, right? Like it's doing something that you're not certain how it's going to go, but you do know that you need to have this if you value that relationship. Be kind to yourself too. Like this, cultivating this requires a certain amount of self-compassion, and that is meeting difficulty with kindness. So compassion is meeting difficulty with kindness. Self-compassion, being kind to yourself as you take steps to improve your life. Believe in yourself. Know that you can change your life. You can do this. It might mean bringing more courage into your life, and that's perfectly okay. You can do that. But if you can do the hard thing, you will come out on top. You will make your life better. So some steps that we might do is there's something called a mountain meditation. And in hatha yoga, you have something called a mountain pose, where you sit up or you stand up straight with your shoulders back, your chest out, very strong, very poised. It's to get you to get into that mindset of becoming the mountain, to be very strong, very stoic, very based, the ability to withstand any storms that come its way. So for some people with courage, and it's definitely something I've used, is okay, this is something that I can use to get myself ready to face a storm or to do something difficult. Talking to yourself in a kind way, like I'm going to attempt a lift that is more than I've ever tried before. Okay, let's give it our best shot. Let's see what happens here. Like, be open, but be kind and optimistic about it. So talking to yourself in a kind way, it's just more positive than we're typically used to. One thing I'll say to myself is, this is my inner compassionate coach, and this is me being very vulnerable here. When I am faced with doing something that I really don't want to do, this is my secret. This is how I talk to myself. Don't be a bitch. I say it in a kind way, I promise. But let's go. You got this. You can do this. Is this going to be hard? Heck yeah. Can you do it? Heck yeah. Why not? If not you, who, right? Like, so other tips and tricks with courage that I can think of, honestly, mentors that I've had, or just people that are super tough in a very good way, not in any kind of crazy way, but just like imagining what they would do in that moment. If this guy was next to me right now, what would he do? He would do it, and he wouldn't think twice about it. And that would be the right thing to do. Can I do that? I'm going to give it a shot. So, and by doing that, you start to increase your tolerance for facing challenges in your life, and also your confidence, right? Like, I can do this. I can do this. I can do other hard things. I can make these changes in my life. And as you start to do it, this is all part of sharpening your sword. Your life will get better, I promise. This is a formula. So practice this. Find certain things. These don't have to be really big things in your life, but just find places in your life where you could be a little bit more courageous and start to practice. This might sound silly to people, but I used to live in Bangladesh, and after that experience, I have a really hard time being around a lot of people in tight spaces. It's very uncomfortable for me, like almost like claustrophobic. When I know that I have to be in a crowd, like I have to prepare myself. There's no pill that I'm going to take for that, but I need to prepare my mind. Like, okay, there's going to be people in my personal space that I don't want, or there might be lines that are really long. I'm gonna have to be very patient. I know that even though that sounds kind of maybe silly to some of you, that I'm gonna have to have courage and to face things that stress me out, that that concern me, and that make me uncomfortable. So in that instance, it's courage. I'm embodying courage in that way. So hopefully, I've given you some examples on how you can embody courage in your life. Um, but sit with that, like ask yourself the question, where in my life could I be more present and show up with more courage? Whether it's with yourself, relationships that you have in your life, um, or other challenges related to work or anything else. I mentioned the wheel of life. That's something you can Google pretty easily and find. It's just a pie chart and has these different categories that you can do. It's a self assessment tool. If it helps you to gauge, where you start to ask yourself questions, because sometimes it's helpful. It's a tool that you can do every few months or so. Really, your answers are always going to change because everything is always changing. That's one rule that doesn't change, is that everything changes. Um, so yeah, so hopefully this is helpful to you. And if you have questions about anything, please feel free to comment below. And I hope this was helpful. Thanks.